If you've ever lost someone, you know the ache doesn't fade. It lingers like a shadow that stretches across every moment of your life. The world moves on, but for you, time stands still. You replay memories, searching for answers, for closure, for something, anything that can fill the void. But what if the story wasn't over? What if the person you lost wasn't truly gone? What if one day they just reappeared? Not as a ghost or a fleeting memory, but as flesh and blood standing before you, as real as the day they left. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Like something out of a novel or a dream. But for Lena, it became her reality. Lena was just 6 years old when her father vanished. He was her hero, her protector, the man who made her laugh until her sides hurt. They had a bond that felt unbreakable, a love that seemed eternal. But life has a way of shattering even the strongest connections. One spring morning, he kissed her forehead, promised to be home for dinner, and walked out the door. It was an ordinary day, filled with the usual routines and expectations. But by nightfall, everything had changed. He didn't come home, he didn't call, he simply disappeared. The police found his car by the river, keys in the ignition, door wide open. There was no note, no sign of struggle, no clues to explain his sudden absence. It was as if he had been swallowed by the earth, leaving behind only questions and heartbreak. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and the months into years. And still, there were no answers. For years, Lena carried the weight of an unfinished story. She clung to the memories of her father, replaying them in her mind like a favorite movie. She kept his photo by her bedside, whispered goodnight to it every evening, and wrote letters to him in a journal she kept hidden under her bed. But as the years passed, hope began to fade. Birthdays, holidays, milestones, every moment was tinged with the sting of his absence. The empty chair at the dinner table, the silence where his laughter should have been, the ache of knowing he was missing every important moment of her life. She graduated high school without him in the audience. She celebrated her 18th birthday without his warm embrace. She learned to live with the emptiness, but she never stopped feeling it. Eventually, Lena stopped hoping, stopped believing. She packed away the photos, the letters, the memories, and tried to move on. She told herself it was time to let go, to accept that some stories don't have happy endings. But deep down, a part of her still longed for answers. Then, one rainy Tuesday, in a quiet Brooklyn bookstore, her shattered world cracked open. It was an ordinary day, much like the one when her father disappeared. The rain tapped against the windows as Lena browsed the shelves, searching for a distraction from the monotony of her life. She had no idea that everything was about to change. An elderly woman walked in, her hands clutching a tattered photo album. She approached the counter, her voice soft but firm. "Would you be interested in buying this?" she asked. Lena, curious, took the album and began flipping through its pages. The photos were old, faded, and filled with faces she didn't recognize. Until she did. Lena flipped through it absent-mindedly, until she froze. Her heart raced as her eyes locked onto a familiar face. There he was. Her father. Older, grayer, but unmistakable. Standing with another woman. And 2 children. Her mind raced with questions. How was this possible? Where had he been? Who were these people? The elderly woman noticed Lena's reaction and spoke softly. "That's my son-in-law, Daniel," she said. Her words hit like thunder. Daniel. That was her father's name, the woman continued, her voice tinged with sadness. "He lost his memory years ago. Said he woke up in Oregon with nothing but a tattoo." Lena. Funny, huh? The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Her father hadn't abandoned her. He hadn't chosen to leave. He had been lost, just as she had been. And now, after all these years, fate had brought them back together. That night, Lena stood trembling outside a red brick house. Her heart pounded as she reached for the doorbell. The door opened, and there he was. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time stood still. "Lena?" he whispered, his voice filled with disbelief and recognition. And 20 years of pain dissolved as she fell into his arms, sobbing. The weight of 2 decades lifted in an instant, replaced by the warmth of his embrace. It was a moment she had dreamed of but never truly believed would come. This is a story of hope, resilience, and the impossible becoming real. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is always a glimmer of light waiting to break through. Share your thoughts below, and check out our next video on the power of family reunions. Because sometimes the most extraordinary stories are the ones that remind us of the strength of the human spirit. Who knows? Maybe miracles are closer than we think.